U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement have arrested a former New Mexico judge and his wife. They're expected to appear in court later today. This after federal law enforcement learned their tenant, an alleged Tren de Aragua gang member, was arrested at his home.
So the judge, Joel Cano, what happened with him is post-Miranda, he admitted that he took one of the defendant's phones and took a hammer himself, destroyed the phone with a hammer, then took the parts of the phone, carried it away to a city dumpster to dispose of it so an illegal alien would not be caught.
A few moments later.
Breaking news, the FBI has just arrested a Milwaukee judge accused of trying to help a man evade immigration authorities. In a now deleted post on X, the FBI director writes that Judge Hannah Dugan intentionally misdirected agents.
So we got judges all over the country being arrested for trying to help illegal immigrants evade deportation. Let's talk about it. So first, let's start in Milwaukee, where Judge Hannah Dugan seems to be in trouble with the feds for trying to help an illegal immigrant evade ICE. Now, to really understand this story, I think you need to understand why this guy was there in the first place. Here is Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States. She's going to explain it.
It was appalling to all of us what happened. I used to be a domestic violence prosecutor, and this case involved someone who was deported under President Obama, came back into our country, we don't know when, illegally, and he was living at a residence, and he beat up a man so badly he had to go to the hospital, his roommate. He punched him with a closed fist in the face 30 times. The victim fell to the ground and he choked him. Then the girlfriend came in, tried to break it up. He punched a woman in the face with a closed fist so hard she fell to the ground. He hit her in the arm. Both of them had to go to the hospital. The fight's broken up. They're taken to the hospital, and he's threatening to do further harm to them later. So she's a sitting judge on a domestic violence case. He's the defendant, Ruiz, 2 victims and a prosecutor, a state prosecutor in the courtroom. It is routinely done when people are picked up on any kind of warrants that it's done outside a courtroom. It's been done in that courthouse. It's been done in a courthouse where I prosecuted 20 years ago. The reason? Because executing a warrant is one of the most dangerous things law enforcement officers can do. You never know what you're going to encounter behind that door, what kind of weapons, with any defendant. So the safest place to do it is if you know they're going to be in a courthouse because they've gone through security.
Okay, so he's been charged with domestic battery and he's there to see the judge. Now, the judge knows that ICE is right in front of her courtroom waiting to arrest this guy. And the judge is not happy about that. So she goes and lets the ICE agents know that she is uncomfortable with them being out there to arrest her defendant.
In charging documents, Judge Dogan was at court a week ago Friday, and that's a defendant in her courtroom for domestic battery was being pursued that day by immigration agents, and that agents were outside the judge's courtroom. According to the charging documents, the judge called the presence of the immigration agents there for that cause absurd, and then sent the immigration agents to the chief judge's office. While they were at the chief judge's office, they allege Judge Dogan moved the defendant, who was to be detained, to a jury box seat and then out a jury doorway into a hallway not commonly used by the public. According to the charging documents, the agents eventually caught up with that defendant, arrested him, but now the FBI alleges Judge Dugan engaged in obstruction, a federal felony for which she now is criminally charged.
So she's doing all this for somebody who beats up women and punched a guy 30 times. Now, I want to let you listen to MSNBC and how they're describing what happened. Listen to Rachel Maddow.
If Trump's immigration agents are staking out courthouses to grab people, to kidnap people.
I just want to be clear, no one was kidnapped. He was arrested. He's not been kidnapped. And the second thing I want to mention is that she's not going to mention the victims, but she's saying him being arrested for his immigration issues is kidnapping. But let her continue.
Once they show up to take part in a lawful court proceeding, that stops judges from fulfilling their responsibilities under the law for what happens with their cases and in their courtrooms. Now, this was also a point of tension in Trump's first term. In Trump's first term, he also sent immigration agents to go to try to arrest people at their court appearances. And it was a flashpoint then. State judges have a duty to ensure the safety of the people who appear before them in court, whether as plaintiffs or defendants or witnesses. Well, today, a whole new level. Today, the FBI arrested a county judge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. According to the FBI, this judge knew that Trump's immigration agents were outside her courtroom waiting to arrest a man who was before her court. They say she sent the immigration agents away from her hearing room and then escorted the man and his lawyer out of the courtroom through a private exit. For that, the Trump administration has arrested her and charged her with 2 felonies.
So as you see, Rachel Maddow didn't bring up the fact that he's here illegally. She didn't bring up the fact that he's in court on a domestic violence beef because he's punched someone 30 times, as it says here. Now you have to love the way Rachel Maddow spun this case. She's trying to make the argument that by helping this guy, this domestic batterer, evade ICE agents, that was in some way protecting him from being kidnapped. Talk about a stretch. And that's not the only judge that's been arrested. Now, before I tell you about this second judge, who's even crazier, here's a word from our sponsor. Now, as parents, you know how much your kids love video games. And those video games are designed to have persistent rewards, microtransactions, and special features designed to keep your kids glued to that screen. Now, how do we know this? Because some of the companies actually patented this technology, which makes your kids and even adults more addicted to the games. Now, the American Psychiatric Association labels this internet gaming disorder.
Internet gaming disorder is listed as a condition by the American Psychiatric Association, and experts say the diagnosis would depend on the level of distress it causes.
Now, I've teamed up with lawyers across the country, and we're filing lawsuits nationwide against developers who knew their games were engineered to addict you to playing, and they failed to warn you of those dangers. Now, successful claims can net you anywhere from $5,000 to $2 million, depending on your individual story. Now, to see if you qualify, go to videogameclaimshelp.com. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment, or scan the QR code on the screen. Now, when you go to the site, take about 10-15 minutes, answer a couple of questions, and you'll see if you qualify. Now, a quick Google search will show you there are many lawyers signing up these cases as we speak. Now, if you feel like you or your family have been affected by this, click the link in the description or the pinned comment and let us evaluate your case. Now, back to the video. Listen to what happened in New Mexico.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement have arrested a former New Mexico judge and his wife. They're expected to appear in court later today. This after federal law enforcement learned their tenant, an alleged Tren de Aragua gang member, was arrested at his home. Now we're also learning other Venezuelan nationals were arrested and are in HSI custody. An ICE spokeswoman says the former judge, Joel Cano, and his wife, Nancy Cano, were taken into custody Thursday as part of an ongoing HSI-led criminal investigation. As KTSM reported, former Doña Ana County Magistrate Judge Joel Cano rented out a small home behind their house to Christian Ortega Lopez. They met when his wife hired Ortega Lopez to install glass. The district attorney's office says Ortega Lopez was seen with multiple firearms in pictures that were posted on social media. The Fed seized those firearms and arrested Ortega Lopez in February, and he allegedly admitted to entering the country illegally in 2023 and faces a charge of illegal alien in possession of a firearm. Our sister station in Albuquerque reports Cano maintains he and his wife had no knowledge of Ortega Lopez's alleged gang affiliation.
So a judge got a gang member held up in his house, living with his wife, shooting guns with his daughter. This is crazy. But this gets even crazier. I'm going to let Attorney General Pam Bondi explain to you how this case played out. So here it is.
The wife, Nancy Cano, law enforcement believes she facilitated destroying evidence. They have recordings of her talking about he had to get rid of the phones. He needed to get rid of them because they could incriminate him.
So you're saying a former judge of New Mexico knew that he had Venezuelan gang members living and working for him. That's what you're saying.
Well, what we know, that was the judge's wife. So the judge, Joel Cano, what happened with him is post Miranda, he admitted that he took one of the defendant's phones and took a hammer himself, destroyed the phone with a hammer, then took the parts of the phone, carried it away to a city dumpster to dispose of it so an illegal alien would not be caught.
Why would this seems very hard to believe.
I agree.
That a former judge would be harboring people like this
I agree. And to clarify,
Did he say anything when he was arrested? Did his wife Nancy say anything when they were arrested? What did they say?
well, post Miranda, he said that about destroying the phone. I'm not sure about her statements post Miranda, but also he's a former judge because he resigned after all this happened.
Flashback.
A suspected Venezuelan gang member facing federal charges after he was arrested in Doñana County. Reporter Alyssa Munoz is here with court documents showing this man was living on a judge's property.
Doug, that's right. This is a picture of the pair from court documents. Now, shortly after Lopez's arrest, Judge Joel Cano resigned. And 2 days later, the Judicial Standards Commission petitioned for the Supreme Court to suspend Judge Cano.
He was a sitting judge while all of this was going on.
So we have a sitting judge harboring gang members in his house, letting them shoot guns. Like, what's going on? Is this real? This is real. This is real. They put it on Facebook. All right, let me know what you feel in the comment section, because this story, it baffles my mind. Why would these judges essentially throw away their careers and face federal charges for doing things so idiotic? But, maybe it's not for me to understand. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section. Tell me, hey, Nate, these judges did the right thing and you agree with it, because unfortunately, I don't. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer. I'm out. Peace.